Hello guys, welcome to another video of me, Babygrowboy, and today we are doing a different kind of video. It's still on Pokemon, on the topic of Pokemon, but I'm going to be doing a noob's guide to Pokemon. So it's not going to be a noob's guide to competitive battling yet, because like I said, I'm delaying that until Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. But we're doing like the ridiculous, like not ridiculous, that's the wrong word, like the complete and utter noob, like people who've never played the game before kind of noob. And like if you've played the game through once, then you will know most of this stuff. But anyway, yeah, so this is for people who haven't ever played the game before and they want some tips and stuff, I guess, like how, I don't know, like the very, very basics of Pokemon. Alright, so let's get into it. The main idea of Pokemon is you start off and you are usually a 10-year-old kid, although you seem older in some games, usually a 10-year-old kid who gets sent off like on an adventure with essentially little monsters called Pokemon, and you have to travel around the region, which is sort of like the whole Pokemon area, and you have to collect gym badges, which there's gym badges in different towns. So the region is made up of multiple towns, usually probably about 15 to 20 towns. No, that's a bit higher. Probably about 10 to 15 towns, and 8 of those towns have gyms in which you can collect gym badges by beating the gym leader. So by battling a gym leader, you then have to when you beat them, you get a gym badge, and if you get 8 gym badges, you then get to take on the Pokemon Elite Four, and then when you take on the Elite Four, they're essentially like the best 4 trainers in that region, and then then after that you take on the Elite Four champion, and that is the best trainer in that region supposedly. And when you beat them, then you essentially beat the game, unless you want to go and do competitive battling or after game or anything like that. But yeah, so Pokemon have HP, which stands for hit points, and that's the green bar next to the Pokemon, usually below the Pokemon's levels and below the name of the Pokemon. Sometimes it's next to it though. But then yeah, so when that bar hits 0, they faint. So they do what's called fainting, and then they can't battle anymore. So then if you completely run out of Pokemon, like when you're battling, then that's called whiting out. And when you white out, it means you lose that battle, and you usually end up at a Pokemon Center, the last Pokemon Center you've been to. And basically a Pokemon Center is there's a nurse in there, a person called Nurse Joy, and some reason she's in every single Pokemon Center, and you walk up to her at the desk and you talk to her, and she will heal your Pokemon for free, and she'll heal their health back to full, and their PP, which is called power points, which is the amount of times they can use a certain move. They will use that, it will heal that as well, and it will also heal any status conditions which you might have. So status conditions are things like poison, burn, paralysis, and confusion. And each of these, they do something bad to the Pokemon that has got them. So if a Pokemon's burned, its attack gets lowered, and it'll take a little bit of damage every turn. If it's poisoned, if it's regular poisoned, it will just take a little bit of damage like burn. But if it's badly poisoned or toxic, it will take a little bit of damage. So say it does 2, then the next turn it'll do 4, then 8, then 16, and it'll double every turn. And then paralysis means you've got a chance that you won't be able to attack, and it also slows your Pokemon down. And confused is that every time you attack, your Pokemon is confused, and sometimes you won't be able to attack, and your Pokemon will hit themselves in confusion, which is a bit weird, but yeah. So that's the status conditions, and then they also have Pokemon. The way they damage each other and make the HP hit 0 is with attacks. So attacks are what the power points are used for, So let's take the very first move, tackle, for example. Every move there's 3 types of moves. There's there's 3 types of moves. Yeah, there's attacking, but then attacking is split into 2 different types of moves, which is status and physical and special. Then you also have status moves, and you also have there's just attacking and status, but then there's physical and special. So there's attacking moves and status moves. Attacking moves, they will do damage to either them or you, depending on the attack. And status will usually not. They won't always do damage. Sometimes they will, but they lower your opponent's stats. So they'll lower their attack or anything like that. So they do less damage, or they're slower or something like that. So the way they make their HP hit 0 is you just attack them constantly. So right at the start of the game, like I said, with tackle, every move has power and accuracy. So tackle, I think in some games it changes from game to game, but I think in the newest one it's got 35 PP, which is power points, but it has I believe it's something like 40 power or maybe 30 power, and it has 95 or 85 accuracy, I believe. But yeah, so the more power it's got, the more damage it's going to do, and the higher the accuracy, the more chance it's got to hit. So when it's got 100 accuracy, that means it's definitely going to hit unless your opponent's lowered your accuracy or your evasion. So that's the other thing I was going to talk about, is the stats. So a Pokemon has 6 main stats and then 2 sort of sub-stats, I guess. So they have HP, which can't be lowered in battle. Apart from it can't be, the actual amount of HP you have in total can't be lowered. So if your Pokemon has 170 HP, it can't be lowered. But it can still take damage, if that makes sense. So there's HP, then there's attack, defense, special attack, special defense, and speed. So attack, that makes you see how much physical damage you're going to take, and you're going to do. Defense is how much physical damage you would take. The higher it is, the more damage you can take. And then the same with special attack and special defense, except it's with special moves. And then speed is just how fast you will move. And then there's the 2 sort of sub ones are accuracy and evasion. So if your opponent lowers your accuracy, then you're less likely to hit them. And if they raise their evasion, they're more likely to evade you. So you're more likely to not do any damage to them. So that's it for moves, I guess. So I already mentioned Pokemon centers, where you can go in. You can go into them and you can heal yourself for free. There's one of them in nearly every town. Not every single one, but nearly every town. No, I think there is actually. There should be one in every town. But and then you can also buy potions, which from a Pokemart, which are the shops usually with blue roofs in the older games, but in the newer ones they're merged with the Pokemon Center. And you can buy potions which also heal your Pokemon. You can also buy things like escape ropes to get out of caves, and things like that. And then you can also buy Pokeballs, which they're used to capture Pokemon, which you will learn right at the start of the game how to catch Pokemon. But you should always lower its HP as low as you can. It's always best if they're on red HP, and you give them a status effect. So either sleep or paralyzation, preferably, because if they're burned or poisoned, then it will kill them. Because if they only have a little bit of health left, they'll take damage from that. So you get them down as low as you can, give them a status effect. Sleep is best, but paralyzation also works. And then you throw a Pokeball at them. So there's all the different classifications. There's loads and loads of Pokeballs, but the main ones you'll use is Pokeballs, which are used to catch a low-level Pokemon, usually. Then there is Great Balls, which they've got a higher chance of catching the Pokemon. There's Ultra Balls, which are even higher, and then there's a Master Ball, which is guaranteed to catch the Pokemon. But yeah, like I said, there are lots and lots of different Pokeballs. But yeah, so the next thing I'm going to talk about is the XP and the levels. So XP is that there's usually a little blue bar underneath your Pokemon's name and level and things like that, and that shows how much experience they've got, or XP. And they've got to, when they get to a certain amount of XP, they'll level up. And the first Pokemon you get will start at level 5, always. And then when that Pokemon gets to a certain amount of XP, it will level up, and it will keep leveling and keep leveling. And the higher the level is, the higher your stats are, which means the higher your, the more damage you'll do, and the more damage you'll be able to take, and things like that. Yeah, and then the max level is level 100. So when you get to level 100, you're at the top level. You can't be any higher than that. And then but sometimes, like, if you have a level 50 and you're against level 20 something and you're trying to catch it, you will probably just kill it in one shot, unless it resists your type or something like that. So that's the next thing I was going to talk about, is typing. So every Pokemon has at least one type, and some have two. And the typings depend what is super effective or not very effective against it. So super effective means it does 2 times the regular amount of damage it will do. And not very effective means it will do half the damage it will usually do. Yeah, so if, for example, we'll take the first 3 starters, for example. The first 3 starters in every game are usually fire, water, and grass. So, as you'd expect, water is super effective against fire. So water does 2 times the amount of damage to fire, and then fire does 2 times the regular damage to grass, and grass does 2 times the regular damage to water. But then it also works in reverse, so grass resists water, which means that that water will only do half the amount of damage to a grass type, and then fire resists grass, so fire will grass will only do half damage to fire, and the same with water and fire. So if you get like a variety of Pokemon to go on your 6 team, your 6 position team, then that's really good, because then you can switch into Pokemon to give yourself an advantage. So for example, if you had a whole team of water types, then your team would get completely screwed over by either grass or electric types. And unless you've got like a water ground type, which can be a secondary type in, which would be good for the electric types, because ground's super effective against electric. I'm not going to go through all the types of what the resistances and all that are, but if you literally just open a new tab, go into Google and type in Pokemon matchup chart, then you can see all the weaknesses and resistances and stuff. Yeah, so I think that's all I've got to say about typing, really. But yeah, there's certain types are immune to other types. So flying is immune to grass. No, not grass, sorry. Flying is immune to ground. Ground is immune to electric. Dark is immune to psychic. Normal is immune to ghost. Ghost is immune to normal. And ghost is immune to fighting as well. And I think that's all of them. Yeah. So, yeah, and then the last thing I'm going to talk about is abilities. Abilities can give your Pokemon, like certain Pokemon, edges over other Pokemon. So, for example, there's the ability Intimidate, which lowers your opponent's attack by 1. And, so it, sorry, I was just faltering a bit there. But it will lower your opponent's attack by 1, so that would give you an advantage over them, because they're doing less damage to you. And there's lots and lots and lots of different abilities. Like there's even one that only one Pokemon can have, Mega Kangaskhan, that lets you attack twice. And yeah, so if you get a range of abilities, then that's really good. But anyway, that's been my Noob's Guide to Pokemon. So thank you very much for watching, guys, and leave a comment if I've missed anything out, if you want to know anything. And yeah, subscribe if you enjoyed, guys. So bye.